Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. I am Dr. Sana Jabin, working as an assistant professor in Department of Botany, Division of Science and Technology, University of Education, Lahore. Today I am here with the 7th lecture of the course Techniques in Microbiology, and this lecture is about sterilization techniques, which comes under the heading Culturing and Isolation Methods. This is our course outline. Here you can see the culturing and isolation methods. Much of the study of microbiology depends on the ability to grow and maintain microorganisms in the laboratory, and this is possible only if suitable culture media are available. So this topic is mentioned in our course outline. Let's start with the introduction to the culture media. A microbiological culture or microbial culture is a method of multiplying microbial organisms by letting them reproduce in predetermined culture medium under controlled laboratory conditions. We have studied detailed in the previous lectures about the culture media. Microbial cultures are functional and basic diagnostic methods used as a research tool in molecular biology. Microbial cultures are used to determine the type of organism, its abundance in the sample being tested. It is one of the primary diagnostic methods of microbiology and used as a tool to determine the cause of infectious disease by letting the agent multiply in a predetermined medium. Before starting the culturing of microorganisms, first we should aware of sterilization techniques. Without learning these techniques, it is almost impossible to get the desirable results of the experiments involving the culturing of the microorganisms. So let's start with the introduction to the sterilization. The term sterilization refers to any process that eliminates, removes, kills, or deactivates all forms of life, particularly the microorganisms such as fungi, bacteria, viruses, spores of bacteria or fungi, unicellular eukaryotes, other organisms like the members of the protozoa. We have studied all these microbes in detail in the first lecture. Some of the microbes also include the prions. These are the proteins and they are also infectious. So sometimes we also have to kill these prions. Sterilization is a distinct form from disinfection, sanitization, and pasteurization, in that these methods reduce rather than eliminate all forms of lives and biological agents present in any media. So we can differentiate the sterilization from the other terms, that is disinfection, sanitization, and pasteurization. In sterilization, we will do the complete elimination of the microbes of every kind. Sterilization can be achieved through various means, including heat, chemicals, irradiation, and filtration. In this lecture, we will focus about the sterilization using different types of heat, that is dry heat, wet heat, flaming techniques. So in the next slide, you can see the list of different methods which are used in heat sterilization. The first one is the steam. Steam is also called the wet heat sterilization. And next is the dry heat. The third one is flaming. Fourth is incineration, then tindalization and glass bead sterilizers. We will be discussing each sterilization technique in detail in this lecture. First, we will focus on the steam sterilization or wet heat sterilization. It is widely used method for sterilization. An autoclave is used for this purpose. These are used to heat the microbes at 121 to 134 degrees Celsius under pressure of 15 pounds per square inch, which is almost equal to the 100 kilopascals. A general cycle would be anywhere between 3 and 15 minutes. So there is a range of temperature as well as the time for the exposure of the microbes. Proper autoclave treatment will inactivate all resistant bacterial spores in addition to fungi, bacteria, and viruses. But it is unexpected to eliminate all prions. Prions, I have told you earlier that these are the infectious proteins which vary in their resistance. For prion elimination, various recommendations state that is 121 to 132 degrees Celsius for 60 minutes or 134 degrees Celsius for at least 18 minutes temperature is required. That is, they can be killed at very high temperature and pressure ranges. Here in this picture, you can see different types of autoclaves. The first one is, that is here, this is pressure cooker type autoclave. Here you can see the common laboratory autoclave. This is the vertical autoclave. Here you can see the horizontal autoclave. And this is the large automatic hospital autoclave, and it is also used in some central laboratories, in some research institutes. In our lab, you can see such type of autoclave, that is the vertical autoclave. We have this type of autoclave in our lab. So we will be discussing this type of autoclave in detail in the next slides. Here in this table, you can see the pressure and temperature relationship for autoclave. The most commonly the pressure is used is 15 pounds per square inch at the temperature of 121 degrees Celsius, and this is enough to kill the several spores of bacteria and fungi, but this is not useful for the killing of prions. That is, for prions you have to go to the pressure up to 25 to 30 pounds per square inch, and the temperature 130 to 135 degrees Celsius. So this is the common range which we use in our experiment for culturing of the microbes and to sterilize our equipment for the experiments. Here you can see the picture of an autoclave. It is the close view. In the next picture, you can see different parts of an autoclave. Here you can see this is the pressure knob, that is, it shows the pressure. Here it is also called the pressure gauge, that it told about the how much pressure is created inside this chamber. And here you can see another, that is the pressure control unit. This knob is called the weight or the whistle of this autoclave, and it is comparable with the pressure cooker. You can imagine the pressure cooker, and we put this whistle on the knob, and then here you can see it is the safety valve, and it avoid rusting. Sometimes if the pressure is present inside the chamber is higher, then this knob is used to remove the excess pressure. And here you can see another screw, and you can use this screw to eliminate the air already present inside the chamber before noting the temperature and pressure. First, what you will do, you will on this autoclave by electric current, and then you will remove this screw after some time. When the water inside the chamber converted into steam, then the air inside this chamber already present must be removed. So you will unscrew this part, and then when the air is removed, and here you can see some water bubbles, it means that the air has been removed. Then you will close this screw, and then the autoclave is ready for sterilization. Here, this picture shows you about the preparation of the samples to sterilize under this autoclave. So what you will do is you can use the glassware for sterilization. or you can use some equipment for sterilization like small loops or needles, etc. You can also sterilize the paper material, as well as you can sterilize your lab coat. But before sterilization in the autoclave, you have to cover these objects with some material. For example, here you can see, if you want to sterilize the beaker, you will cover this beaker with some paper. Here you can see it, inside this paper is beaker, which is wrapped with this hard sheet, and then you will cover it, or you will tie it with the cotton thread. And here you can see is the petri plate. You can wrap this petri plate using this paper. And for the sterilization of media or some liquid culture medium, you will use this cotton plug. And one important thing to remember is that whenever you use any liquid inside any apparatus, then the amount of the liquid should be 1/3, so that if the temperature is high, it will boil, and if it is more than enough, then it will come from the flask, and it will spread inside the cavity or inside the chamber of the autoclave. So be careful while using the liquid material. The reason to wrap these apparatus is that when you will autoclave or when you will sterilize these apparatus, then when you uh, put it out from the autoclave, it will be exposed to the external air where already microbes are present. So it is essential to wrap these equipments or apparatus with some material, preferably with the hard paper sheets, so that they can be maintained as sterilized. And this picture shows you about how to unscrew the cap of this autoclave. Here you can see there are many knobs which can hold the lid tight with this body of the autoclave. So you will be moving these knobs anti-clockwise, and then these will go down, and uh, you can remove the lid of this autoclave. So you can see here all these knobs are down, and you can easily remove the lid from this chamber. And here you can see a rubber. This rubber help to create the vacuum inside the chamber. If this is not there, then there will be the leakage of the air or steam inside the chamber, so it will not helpful in proper sterilization. Here in the next picture, you can see the inner side of the autoclave. Here you can see is this small plate present inside the chamber, and this is the plate where you will put your apparatus or things to be sterilized inside this plate. And if you remove this plate, you can see the internal parts of the autoclave. Here you can see the two main parts. Here is the coil, and it is just like the coil that is present inside an electric kettle to heat the water. And here it will heat the water up to the steam. And here you can see another thing. This is the tripod stand, and this stand carry the plate that will be having your apparatus to be sterilized. So an important thing to note is that you have to put some amount of water inside this chamber that will be converted into steam. So be careful while adding the water inside this chamber. Here you can see the amount of water uh, should below this tripod stand and should be above this coil. So if you add more water, then your equipment may be floating, or the plate may start floating on this water. So be careful while adding water inside this chamber. Water must be below this stand and must be above this coil. Now you will be putting your apparatus or your media inside this plate, and then you will cover the lid of the autoclave, and you will tight the knobs by moving these knobs clockwise, and then you will close this lid. So this is all about how to use this autoclave. You can see the complete video and other things like the personal protective equipment or the other precautionary measures that are considered while using this equipment. You can follow this website online training video which was developed by Arizona State University USA, and this is very wonderful video. You can see the whole data about the autoclave by watching this video. Next is the dry heat sterilization. Dry heat was the first method of sterilization, and it is longer process than moist heat sterilization. The destruction of microorganisms through the use of dry heat is a gradual phenomena. With longer exposure to the lethal temperatures, the number of killed microorganisms increases. The forced ventilation of the hot air can be used to increase the rate at which the heat is transferred to an organism and reduce the temperature and amount of time needed to achieve sterilization. At higher temperatures, shorter exposure times are required to kill the organisms. The standard setting for a hot air oven is at least 2 hours at 160 degrees Celsius. A rapid method heats air to 190 degrees Celsius for 6 minutes for unwrapped objects and 12 minutes for wrapped objects. Dry heat has the advantage that it can be used on powders and other heat stable items that are adversely affected by the steam. Here in this picture, you can see the dry heat sterilization oven, and such type of ovens are present in our laboratories. And here you will put your sample. You can add many trays here, and then you will be putting your samples to be sterilized here, and then you will close this door, and temperature can be set here by using these buttons, and then after some time, what the time you will set here, this will complete the procedure, and then this is the dry heat method which is used to sterilize the equipments. The next procedure is flaming. Leaving the lube in the flame of a Bunsen burner or alcohol burner or any other burner which is present in your lab, for example the gas burner, until the lube glows red. It ensures that tiny infectious agent is inactivated. For example, the bacteria can be inactivated by this method. Flaming is done to inoculation loops and straight wires which are used in microbiology labs for streaking. We will be studying the streaking method in detail in the next lectures. This is commonly used for small metal or glass objects, but not for the large objects. For large objects, you can use the incineration method, which we will be discussing in detail in the next slides. During the initial heating, infectious materials may be sprayed from the wire surface before it is killed, contaminating nearby the surfaces and objects. Therefore, special heaters have been developed that surround the inoculating loop with a heated cage, ensuring that such sprayed material does not further contaminate the area. Another problem is that gas flames may leave carbon or other residues on the object if the object is not heated enough. A variation on flaming is to dip the object in 70% alcohol or ethanol, then briefly touch the object to Bunsen burner flame. The ethanol will ignite and burn off rapidly, leaving less residue than the gas flame. So it is considered that 70% alcohol gives the best results in the flaming process. Here in this picture, you can see different metals. For example, here you can see the needles which can be sterilized by using the flaming method. These are the inoculation loops which are used in the different culture plate methods. And here you can see the sizes of the loops which depend upon the volume of the matter which can be taken as the inoculum from the liquid broth. So this is the inoculation loop, and these are the inoculation needles which can be sterilized by the flaming method. The next procedure is the incineration. Incineration is the complete combustion of organisms to ash. It is a waste treatment process that involves the combustion of organic substances containing the waste materials. Since this method burns any organism to ash, it is used to sterilize several kinds of biohazardous wastes which are produced while working with the microorganisms. The temperature ranges in the incineration plants is 900 to 1200 degrees Celsius. For bacteria, there are small incinerators which are used, and they are called the mini furnaces. In this picture, you can see a micro incinerator. It is also known as Bacto incinerator. It is a device used in microbiology laboratories to sterilize small instruments. This sterilization instrument consists of a ceramic tube. Here you can see inside this there is a ceramic tube. It is surrounded by the metal and with a hollow portion between this tube and this metal at the center. When plugged in and turned on with the power supply, the micro incinerator can reach the temperature of 800 degrees centigrade or more than this temperature, and it is sufficient to eliminate the microbes from the inoculating loop. Here you can see another type of incinerator, and this is slightly larger than the common lab incinerator, and it is also used to incinerate the larger objects. The next method is the Tyndallization. The name Tyndallization is after the scientist John Tyndall, which first introduced this method. It is a lengthy process, and it is designed to reduce the level of activity of sporulating bacteria that are left by the simple boiling method. This process involves boiling for a period of almost 20 minutes at atmospheric pressure and then cooling. After that, you will incubate these material for 1 day and then repeat this process for 3 to 4 times. The incubation periods are to allow heat-resistant spores surviving the previous boiling period to germinate to form the heat-sensitive vegetative stage, which can be killed by the next boiling step. This is effective because many spores are stimulated to grow by the heat shock. The procedure only works for media that can support the bacterial growth and will not sterilize non-nutritive substrates like water. Tyndallization is also ineffective against prions, and prions requires higher temperature as compared to the other microbes. So this method is very useful to kill the bacterial spores. The next and the last method is the glass bead sterilizer. It works by heating glass beads for about 250 degrees Celsius. The instruments are then quickly doused in these glass beads, which heat the object while physically scraping the contaminants off their surface. Glass beads sterilizers were once common in sterilization techniques in biological laboratories, but they are not recommended by several organizations. Here you can see the picture of the glass beads. Here these are the glass beads, and you can provide the temperature with this electricity, and these glass beads get the higher temperature, and you can dip the instrument inside these glass beads, and then they are sterilized. This is all about heat sterilization. In the next lecture, we will discuss about the other methods of sterilization. Then we will go to the culturing and isolation methods. This is the reading material. You can follow this book. This book is very good for techniques in microbiology. And the name of the book is Microbiological Applications, a Laboratory Manual in General Microbiology. And this book is available online. You can also follow these links for detailed study. Thank you very much.